Dave Herman is now with the UFC. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, right. It's been kind of a long road. It's not always easy when you're fighting for some of the smaller organizations in terms of getting a consistent schedule together, right?
Yeah, sometimes you'll get a couple real quick, and then you might not have any for a while.
I think the worst part for you, in terms of perception from the fans, is that a lot of people the last time you fought in Bellator, but a lot of people the last time they saw you was in the Japan fight, and then when you don't get back in there and fight on the big stage. That's got to be annoying. I want to go back to the Japan fight for a second. Tell people what happened that night, because it really didn't look like Dave Herman.
Well, I came out, I think the first round looked a lot like me, but I just gassed out, basically. That was my only second time even going out of the first round. I hadn't been training in a gym yet, and I think overall it was good. Not 2 weeks after that, I went and started training at a gym. And have been ever since.
Maybe a wake-up call or, that
kind of, I was just kind of hanging out with my friends, having fun, and fighting on the weekends. And, then finally I was like, well, I guess party time's over. Got to work a little. Can't
just go on the natural talent at that point, right?
Yeah.
How sick a feeling is that when you're in there? Because it happens to everybody. I mean, everyone has fights when they feel listless. But when you're going all right through the first round, and then all of a sudden you just hit the wall, how bad does it feel?
I honestly didn't really feel that bad. I was actually in between rounds. I sat down, and I immediately just got back up. I was like, my corner asked me what was wrong, and I was like, dude, if I stay sitting down, I won't be able to get back up again because I was so tired.
Wow.
So I was like, I got to keep moving or I'm done. And then turns out I was done anyways.
So I was reading one write-up of the fight, and we're talking to Dave Herman, who's making his debut at the UFC. He's going to be going against Einemo, who we'll talk about in just a few minutes. He's on the Vancouver card in Canada for UFC 131. I read one report that said Herman also picked up a reputation as an incredibly talented but incredibly undisciplined fighter who barely bothered to train and tried out moves for the first time in the cage. Is that kind of internet tough guy talk, or is there actually some accuracy to that?
No, right up until that fight, yeah, everything I did, a lot of the stuff I just tried for the first time at my fight, or somebody would be like, hey, do this. And then I'd be like, that's dumb, and then I'd do it anyways.
That's nice, huh?
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, one of the things I noticed when I was reading through the record, I'm like, wait a second. 6'5", 240, 245 pounds. You want to fight using an Omoplata?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's a real common finishing move in the heavyweight ranks, Dave.
I don't think it is. That actually obviously happened after I started training.
Yeah.
Prior to that, the only submission I knew was a rear naked choke, which I think everybody knows that one.
Right.
But, my jiu-jitsu coach, Sean Hammond, at the time showed me that, and, it ended up getting a win with it.
Yeah. Well, I think when you mention rear naked choke, there's a graduation of Omoplata. It's not exactly like the next move that you use to finish. There are some more simplistic moves you could use.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it happens. Is that right? So how much different do you feel now? And for, let's tell people, too, who are you training with?
I'm training with Team Quest out of Temecula.
Okay.
Well, like the bigger name guys I work out with, I train with obviously Dan Henderson and Terry Sokaju.
Have you learned, over time that it really is hard to have success at the highest levels if you're not training with top-notch guys?
Yeah, for me, like that, the fight I lost was basically just conditioning.
Right.
I could have also not been in condition and actually had some technique and known what I was doing, and I still think I'd have been all right. But, why not go for both?
Right. So the opponent here, I don't know if it matters to you who you're fighting. Obviously, you got a game plan a little bit, but it's changed, 3 times? Does this turn out is this a positive that you're fighting a guy who hasn't fought in a while, but he's also a dangerous ground fighter?
I don't really think it makes that big of a difference. I never really researched any of my opponents in the past until maybe the last year. So, he hasn't fought in 5 years. It's hard to know a whole lot about him. No recent video. But for me, it's kind of just same old.
What do you expect? I mean, if he's going to get it to the ground, what kind of jiu-jitsu guys have different ways of getting it to the ground? Do you have any idea how he'd even try to execute it?
I don't. The fights I've seen of his, he ended up on the ground, I think, but It wasn't really, it just kind of happened. It wasn't really like a takedown. They were just kind of fighting and they just fell down or what happened.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts, as you walk into the UFC, and it looks like that the heavyweight ranks are kind of coming together here in the next couple of years with Strikeforce being on board under the Zuffa umbrella. Who do you view? Because it really is still pretty wide open. Is it Velasquez? Is it Overeem? Is it one of the guys fighting on this card? Who's the guy that you look at and you're like, that guy's the best heavyweight?
I don't know. Obviously Overeem's really good, and but I think, and Velasquez too, obviously, but I don't. I mean, if they fought each other, I'd be rooting for Velasquez for sure, and I think he would win it.
I like Overeem, I think he's obviously grown in a lot of ways, no pun intended, but he's added to his game a whole lot. But I still think people are a little too high on his striking. I think he's a powerful striker. I don't know that he's necessarily a real great technical striker. I think he's just kind of mauled people.
Yeah, he's just big, and somebody's got to be able to stand there and take that, or figure out a way to get around it. And I think they'll be all right.
What do you think of Dos Santos and Carwin?
I don't know. I'm pretty excited to see that. I'm not real sure who's going to win that. My guess is if Carwin's going to win, it's going to be in the first round probably. If it goes past that, then I think Dos Santos has it for sure.
Well, good luck in this debut. We appreciate a couple of minutes. I know a lot of the hardcore MMA fans. Obviously, you were tabbed a hotshot prospect a couple of years ago. We've been waiting for a while for you to get in the UFC, so it's good to see you here, and I hope you do well.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You want to see the next big UFC card? PT's Pub is the spot. 4 locations show each and every UFC card. PT's at Buffalo and 215, Sunset and Pecos, Stewart and Nellis, and the PT's at Spring Mountain and Arville. ESPN Radio 1100, 98.9 FM starts off each fight weekend with our live MMA show, The MMA Insiders. On the Friday before UFC pay-per-views, we'll be down there from 6 to 7. Come down, get half off all the drinks and half off the awesome PT's Pizza. This week, we're at the PT's at 215 in Buffalo. So mark it down. PT's is your spot to check out all the exciting UFC action.